If you could use one word to describe Todd Phillips' masterpiece Joker, what would it be? I wish I could hear every single one of your responses, but I think one of the most common answers would be disturbing. Disturbing would be a pretty hard word to dispute if you think about all the suicidal imagery, Robert De Niro getting his brains blown out, just the overall brutal depiction of murder, the dark themes, the mental illness. It's not a movie that, if your friend had a bad day and they're like, hey man, let's watch a movie, you wouldn't be like, let's watch Joker.
It's a fucked up, sick movie.
Yeah.
But that's what they were trying to do.
Right.
It's the greatest fucked up, sick movie I think I've ever seen.
In fact, it's far more likely you'd recommend something like Suicide Squad so you could make fun of Jared Leto or the movie as a whole, because it's obviously a disgrace of filmmaking. Aside the point, when you think of Joker, you don't think of it as an uplifting film. There isn't something you can take away and smile about. But I think that is something that is a mistake, because there is a theme. Despite all that grime and filth, there is a proverbial light at the end of the grime-filled tunnel. Before I describe what I think that light is, I do want to say I think most films in Hollywood, especially the films made by really good filmmakers, mostly independent films, have an objective meaning. I don't have the postmodern point of view that everything is, personal to yourself. I think most movies have a message that's specifically been designed by the director. But what I've seen from Todd Phillips is that he left a lot of the messages open-ended and left it to the discretion of the viewer. And that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable making a claim about what the ending means. But if at any point Todd Phillips comes out, and he said he will do this at some point, and give answers about the questions asked at the end of the film, I will make another video addressing them. But this is my point of view, and I think it is definitely a possibility of what Todd Phillips was trying to say. When the credits roll at the end of Joker, one of the first questions that came into my head was, what is Arthur laughing at when he's in Arkham Asylum at the end of the movie? The answer obviously revolves around Bruce Wayne and his dead parents, because that is the image that comes into his head when he's laughing. And Todd Phillips has said, or I believe it's Joaquin Phoenix, one of the two, they have said that his laugh at that moment is the only authentic laugh he gives throughout the entire film. Since the movie comes through the head of Arthur, to answer that question you have to go into Arthur's head. Who is Bruce Wayne to Arthur? And that answer is, he is the ideal to Arthur. He's a young kid from a very affluent family with two parents who has a lifetime of opportunities ahead of him. Arthur looks to be around the wrong side of 30, and as we know, his mom and his lack of father clearly is a center point of his shame and anger and despair, and when he sees Bruce, he sees someone who doesn't have to deal with all this struggle. So when he sees the image of Bruce standing with his dead parents, he's seeing his ideal being corrupted. Little Bruce, the privileged Bruce Wayne, is going to have to deal with a lot of the same problems he had to deal with. Now I think Arthur believes Bruce is going to handle the pain the exact same way he did throughout the events of Joker. He's going to act out in violence, he's going to seek power, he's going to drown in this pit of sorrow the way he did. And that's what he's laughing at. His ideal is being completely destroyed. This is where I think Todd Phillips is actually making a very beautiful image at the end of Joker. If Bruce Wayne was a character we know ends up becoming a villain, or even an anti-hero for that matter, someone who sometimes divulges into the dark side of human behavior, like the Punisher for instance, then the movie would be as dark as people are saying it is. Because Todd Phillips would be saying, if you have childhood trauma, which is one of the main themes Todd Phillips has said he was trying to base the movie around, he'd be saying, if you deal with these things, you're always going to have them as a permanent scar, but you're not going to have the ability to deal with it. But that is not who we know Bruce Wayne to end up to be. I think the very best description of Bruce Wayne in Batman is given by Heath Ledger's interpretation of the Joker in The Dark Knight.
This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. You truly are incorruptible, aren't you?
What's so powerful about that description is Bruce Wayne has every single reason to be corruptible. Especially in the Joker, the murder scene of his parents is so brutal, the way they're killed right in front of him, of course, but his mom gets her pearl necklace ripped off, not in the way, of course, in Batman vs. Superman, where it's sort of a little overly cinematic, but the way the murder just rips it off her neck is so powerful. But not just that, when the murder goes back into the streets, he just sort of fades back into this group of parading people having the time of their lives while he's sitting there feeling the worst pain one can possibly imagine. I think you and I can agree that if Bruce Wayne were to use the resources at his disposal, because he's a very rich man, if he wanted to use his training and all of his weapons to go around slaughtering the people in the criminal underbelly of Gotham, or the people responsible for killing his parents, he would have a right to do that to a certain extent, but he chooses not to. He controls his anger and his rage, justifiable rage, and enacts justice in a very honorable fashion. Todd Phillips said in an interview that DC did not say that he needed to have Bruce Wayne in this film. A lot of people said that the addition of the Waynes felt a little bit tacked on, and that was a result of studio interference. But Todd Phillips said the opposite, actually. He said that the studio probably would have preferred he left the Waynes out of it. But I think the addition of Bruce Wayne and his family in this film was to show that even though you endure suffering, you don't have to choose the path of Arthur. I was actually a little bit disappointed about how Bruce Wayne was portrayed in Joker. That's not really a knock on the actor, he's just a kid obviously, but I wish they would have had him show a little bit more of that Batman grit and fire when Arthur was literally sticking his fingers in his mouth. If he would have just knocked his hand away or did something, I don't know. Something more than stand there would have been a little bit nice. That's a minor complaint, but I wish he would have done something. But I think the addition of Bruce Wayne in this movie is a little bit more important than people are making him out to be. It seems to me he's a pretty key aspect and a big theme of the movie. When I was making this video and I was thinking about the character of Bruce Wayne compared to Arthur, one clip from The Dark Knight Rises came into my head, just thinking about what the character of Bruce Wayne means, and just the idea that just because something terrible happens in your life, you don't have to act out and make the world a worse place. You don't have to try and show people or try to replicate the pain inside of you onto other people. You have a choice to make, and you have a choice to make lives better for people. And that's what this quote in The Dark Knight Rises made me think of.
How can you move faster than possible, fight longer than possible, without the most powerful impulse of the spirit? The fear of death.
I do fear death. I fear dying in here, while my city burns. There's no one there to save it.
That scene shows the essence of Bruce Wayne better than any other scene I know of. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. This is my first video on YouTube, so if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to hear more from me. I love movies. I love talking about them. I didn't really know the best way to get involved, but I thought a YouTube channel would be good. And if you guys see Joker soon, try to keep this theme in mind. I don't want you to be too brought down by the other dark themes of the movie, which there are, of course, and understandably, especially on the mental illness side of things. But I think he added Bruce Wayne to paint a pretty optimistic and beautiful picture at the end. So try to dwell on that, because it's a very interesting and powerful thing. So thank you again. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I will talk to you in the future.